So I'm in my room and I'm sitting in that chair over there trying to read a book. But since I always sit in that chair and I record videos, I had this issue where my brain has linked that area with recording videos. A few minutes ago, I was trying to read this book, but my brain just wasn't letting me. My brain was just kind of rushing with thoughts. It was just kind of getting video ideas, getting business ideas, getting what should I do later, what should I do tomorrow. And for a second, I was thinking like, why does this happen? But then it came clear to me when I remembered something talked about in Atomic Habits is that we link certain areas with certain things. For example, you would link your computer chair with, let's say a few years ago, maybe it was like gaming, playing games, hopping on Discord with your friends. But now it's probably something to do with business. Maybe it's like going on your computer chair to do some deep work, to record some videos, to send outreaches, whatever your business model is. Since that was the case, I was like, okay, well, if that's a link to me working, well, then where can I read? So I decided to just read on the floor. Let me show you. So I was just laying down and the sun is just beaming onto my face. And it's kind of warm, so it's nice to read here. And it's not really linked anything like around here. Yeah, you could say it's a link to working out, but I usually work out standing up, so my brain's kind of linking like me standing up in this certain area as working out. So I sat down on the floor, I crossed my legs and I started reading for a moment. And for some reason, my brain just started actually focusing on the book. I could actually read a sentence and not forget it. I could actually kind of comprehend the book. I could actually learn stuff from the book, and I got ideas about the book instead of getting like fast ideas about my business. And I remember I made a video about this a few days ago where I was talking about like different places where you can read. Because I remember this one time I was sitting in my room. And I just couldn't focus on my book. I was sitting in that same chair again. And I was trying to read a book and I just couldn't. My brain felt like so ADHD. It was going different places, trying to watch YouTube videos, it was just full of distractions. I could always just look on my computer screen and watch a YouTube video, and it was just way too distractions. So I thought to myself, what if I just go to the park? So I grabbed my coat and I went downstairs and I said goodbye to my dad. I opened the door and I left the house. So as I'm walking to the park, it was a very sunny day. It's kind of like today, you can see it's very sunny. So I was just walking to the park and I took my coat off to see if I could get a little bit of tan. And eventually I got to the park and I was just climbing up this massive hill because this park has two sections. We've got the lower section and the upper section. So I was going up this like area, I crossed these two trees and I got to the log that I usually read at. So I would put my bag down, but I was thinking to myself, I look to my right and I see that there's two guys playing football there. So my thought came into my mind like, okay, these guys look my age. I don't really want them to look at me and think I'm a nerd. And yeah, I probably should have thought to myself, yeah, I don't care about those guys. I should just be stoic, only focus on myself. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I was just a little bit of a pussy and I was like, okay, I don't want them to look at me like a nerd. So I just picked up my bag and I went looking around for another place to read. So I was looking around and I remember that there's a bench near in the park where it's kind of like this bench and it's looking out into almost the city, the Clifton Suspension Bridge. If you don't know that, it's like just a bridge that looks pretty cool in Bristol, which is where I live. And so thankfully there was no one there, because usually when it's like a sunny day, it's like a good day, there would usually be like a partner there, there would should be like someone just sitting down there, and thankfully there wasn't over there. So I put the bag down and I pulled my book out, which at the time was Atomic Habits, and I kid you not, I managed to read almost the whole book, half of the book in just that one day, like almost this much of the book, which of course that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you look at a book, that was literally like, maybe I would say, I don't really have my hands free, but that was like, with my notes, that was like half of the book. And I got surprised. I was like, wait, what? But then it came to my mind. It's because when I'm sitting in my room, the distraction levels are all the way up here. I got my computer, I got my phone, I got all these things that I keep getting distracted. I remember that, oh, I should probably make this video. Oh, I should make that video. Oh, I have this idea. Oh, I should message my friend. I should say this to this guy. But then when you kind of take it to a more peaceful area, when you just turn off your computer of your room and you kind of just sit on the floor and just start reading for a moment, it allows your brain to actually build that connection in another area. Because when you try to it's kind of like trying to play basketball on a football field. It's like, sure, you can, but the thing is designed to kind of play football. Like, you can almost imagine a football field, it's got like the grass and everything. Like, yeah, you can play basketball, but it's kind of tough. And it's kind of the same with your desk and, for example, your living room. At living rooms and other places that I usually read. So when you're in your desk, it's kind of like a football pitch for you to make your business. You gotta think critically about everything. But when you're in a different area, let's say reading is kind of like basketball, but trying to play basketball, so read, in your computer chair, which is a football field, it doesn't really go, it doesn't cohere, it doesn't make sense. That's why you need another area, which would be like an indoors basketball place that has like, I don't know, some weird specific basketball stuff. Like, yeah, you can play football there, but it's not as good as playing outside, if that makes sense. But you get the point. So if you have been trying to read a non-fiction book like Atomic Habits or any self-help book, always try to avoid reading where you usually do your work, because that area is already linked with that. That's kind of like the football pitch for you. You need like an other area, like the basketball pitch, for you to be able to read at. Some simple ideas that you can take is like your living room, out in the park, maybe literally just in the floor in your room like me. Just take these ideas and just try it out. With reading, always read what you're currently interested in, because this is an issue that happens. Is like most guys think like, oh, I need to finish this book to move on to the next one. But that's an idiotic. We learn way more from something that we're interested in, that rather than we're not. For example, you can almost imagine you were back in school and let's say you hated math. You just hated it. Maybe you didn't, but just visualize a subject that you didn't like. You just hated it. You just didn't want to learn from the teacher. Maybe the teacher was bad. It was just a horrible subject. The teacher spoke so slowly. It was just so boring and all of that. Just visualize that. Would you have learned a lot compared to a lesson that you did like, that you really did enjoy? Let's say, I don't know, for you maybe science or something. Like, let's say, let's just picture this. Science was like it was like your favorite subject. You want to do it all day, every day. Even when you're at home, you're like kind of researching a little bit about it. Then you're obviously gonna learn more science than maths. So you hate maths, so you kind of you're kind of forced to go into the 1 hour lesson, but you kind of don't really focus. You're kind of thinking about science and you just kind of leave. But compared to when you're in science, you like want to be there. You kind of like want to stay like an extra 10 minutes to learn a little bit more. When you really have this is exactly what happens with books, or usually with topics you want to learn about. Usually one day you'll be interested in one topic. So for example, psychology or persuasion or how to influence and influence people. One day you'll be interested in that. But the next day you might be interested more in like how to build habits and identity. For example, Atomic Habits or Psycho-Cybernetics. Let's say the next day you're interested in that. It's kind of like if you continue reading the books that about socialization, about how to influence and influence people, in the day that you're interested in learning about psychology, then you're kind of putting yourself, instead of being in that science classroom, you're being in that maths classroom that you hate. So always focus on reading books that you enjoy, because the bonus that brings is that whenever you're reading something that you enjoy, you link reading with something that is fun. And when you do that, you just read like if it was like a video game. You can almost imagine you didn't have to discipline yourself to play a game, or you didn't have to discipline yourself to eat junk food, because it was pleasurable and it was fun to play video games. So why not do the same with books? Just make them fun and something you can kind of keep going back to. And you do that by just focusing on the books that you enjoy. So after you finish watching this video, mindfully think to yourself, what is it that I want to learn about when I finish this video? Maybe it can be about spirituality. Maybe it can be about building habits from Atomic Habits. Maybe it can be about identity. It could be about psychology. Really mindfully think to yourself that, instead of kind of just going through the YouTube homepage, going to FAP again, going to just do bullshit little tasks, kind of not really just messing around, not really doing anything. Think to yourself, what is something that I want to learn about? Take a second and mindfully think to yourself, what am I interested in right now? Oh, I'm interested in how to build habits. Lately, I've been very inconsistent with my meditation or with my workout. So you kind of learn a little bit about that. You learn about your specific problems instead of kind of learning random things that are not linked to your problems. Because this is something that I usually do. It's like I would kind of watch so many podcasts, so many videos about kind of problems that I could face, but I'm not facing currently in the moment. Like I'll be watching like a video on like the mistakes of a 10k, like just mistakes of how to scale your business from 10k to 100k. I'm not making 10k a month, so that video is like, yeah, you can get like a few insights from it. Yeah, you got a little bit of value, but for the most part, you're much better off watching a video on how to go from 0 to 10k a month, which most of it will be mindsets and kind of stuff like that. So you kind of want to watch your itch. So you might be itching like, oh, I've been so inconsistent with my meditation, with my workouts. So you fix that, and if you're even more advanced, kind of like me, you can just make a video about it. So as I was reading this book, I was thinking to myself, I was just sitting there, like I said, I was just sitting there and I couldn't read this book. So I sat down and it allowed me to read a book because it was like unlinked. I went to my basketball pitch to actually play basketball instead of playing basketball in a football pitch. So some things you can practically do is read what you're interested in. So just mindfully think, what is a book that I am interested in, or what is something that I'm interested in right now that I could be learning about. And also think to yourself, where is somewhere else I could be reading, or read. So for example, you might have a book, you might already have your mindfully interest. So maybe it's, let's say, identity and habit formation. So you already picked up your book of Atomic Habits or whatever book you have. And then you go to your living room, since you probably don't do much in your living room, you probably just sit in your room, just like me. So you go to the living room and you start reading it in peace. If your family is there, then you can just read on the floor like me. That's what you can do, just read on the floor, because your floor is not really linked with anything. It's not really linked with business. It's not really linked with you kind of working. Just read on the floor, for example. These are some ideas you can use, and I really hope you benefited from this video. And if you want to learn more closely from me, I have almost a community where you can learn closely from me, where we have guides, we have coaching calls. I'll be releasing courses soon, so that'll be the first link in the description. Second link in the description will be my one-to-one coaching. Think about how much progress you'll be able to make from getting all the answers, basically like the cheat sheet from someone who's already walked the journey for you. You get valuable insight about business, about self-improvement. You basically get all the cheat sheets, because I've been learning a lot about this for lots and lots of years. So if you want to put your self-improvement in fast track and your business on fast track, then that'll be the second link in the description with my coaching fit call. And I really hope you benefited from this video.